This call is being recorded.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Cooking Without Looking TV show podcast. How are you today? This is Renee Rentmeester. I'm the creator and executive producer of the Cooking Without Looking TV show, as well as the podcast. And today we are going to learn to eat right. That's right. We're learning to eat right. We're learning to eat well with Alicia Connor. Welcome, Alicia.
Hey, thanks, Renee. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure.
Well, thank you, Al. Thank you for being here. And so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my first career was as a chef, cook and a chef. And then as I experienced some vision loss, I went back to school and became a dietitian. So I'm a dietitian, nutritionist, and chef. So I'm basically a superhero.
With a spatula. Dun, dun, dun. So tell us about the blindness. Tell us about what happened when you were going blind.
Well, when I was 17, I learned how to drive, and then when I was 17, I was on the highway in Boston, and I noticed that I wasn't able to capture the words on the highway signs soon enough, like not as quickly as I could previously. And so I was like, oh, this can't be good. So my mom and I went to like iWorld, and we saw the optometrist there, and I was given my first pair of glasses, and I remember the gentleman's face, that it was this like, I'm not sure face. And I thought they did something for me, but it was just a slight difference. It was just like putting clean glass in front of my eyes. So it was just like a very slight improvement from what I could see. And so it just took me a little bit longer to see, like highway signs. And, we're moving kind of fast, so it takes a little time for me at that time, it took me a little bit more time to capture the words. And so I was like, okay, then I was off on my way with my first pair of glasses. And then when I was 19 and I moved from Boston to Providence, Rhode Island, when I went to college the first time, and I went to an optometrist to get new glasses, and she was like, I can't correct you. I don't understand why I can't correct you. I can't figure out a way to give you corrective lenses. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but okay. And I happened to be dilated, and she called that day the Rhode Island Eye Institute, and she asked if they could see me that day because I happened to be dilated. So if you're dilated, it's kind of like an opportunity, right, to take advantage of testing, and which was amazing because she could have just, gave me the phone number, right? And like, good luck. But she made it happen for me, which was super amazing. And so I walked to the Rhode Island Eye Institute. It was like a 20-minute walk from her office. And
oh my gosh,
I remember it was like a snowy day, and so I was wearing those like temporary sunglasses, the janky temporary sunglasses, walking to the Rhode Island Eye Institute. So then right there and then they tested the back of my eyes, and they took pictures and everything, and they diagnosed me with hyperplasia of the optic nerve, which means for me, my optic nerves are pale. And so the way I can describe it is not all the information goes into my brain. And so right now I'm legally blind, so 20/200 in both eyes, and so I can't drive. And when I moved soon after that, when I was 20, I drove cross country from Boston to San Francisco, and I accepted that as my last drive because I just knew that instead of waiting to renew my license, renew my license and like having to go through the struggle of like knowing that I would have to give up my license at some point, I decided just like when I arrived in San Francisco that was it. Like I was done, like none of the struggle and holding on to this attachment of like I could totally drive. And, my vision just slowly declined over time, and I became officially legally blind when I was 27.
Now, is it more difficult in your mind to admit that you're blind and do things, or is it harder to change the way you do things? Which is it more difficult?
What do you mean?
Do you okay to realize and to make it real in your mind that you now can't see the way you used to? Is it harder to accept that, or is it harder to actually change the way you do things?
I guess if I'm only given those two options, I guess it was easier for me to accept the vision loss because at the time I still had vision, and so I didn't necessarily, I don't know, I just kind of like accepted it at the moment, and it wasn't that this is just my perception of my experience, obviously, but I guess I had a little time to process things, and so I was just like, okay, driving, I like have a hardcore respect for driving, and
Right.
in terms of like safety in general in my life is super important to me, and so just knowing that like I literally could, everybody increases their risk of messing with somebody else's life once they sit in a car, right, and start
Sure.
driving. And I just think that a lot of people don't respect it as much as it should be, the driving, the ability to drive. And so I think letting go was easier for me, like letting go of driving and accepting the fact that I was going to experience some vision loss, and just knowing that I just needed to do the best I could. Like, I don't know, there's just like the sense that, I'm not saying it's easy at all, but
Right.
it was easier to accept the vision loss than, like figuring out how to do things differently is a totally other different chapter or category or journey entirely, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
the same with like weight loss. Like knowing you need to do something is a totally different story than like how will you manage and do awesome in this life.
Right. What do you see when you look? What do you see right now?
Well, I'm looking at my computer screen, but
I mean,
I use Zoom.
like is it blurry, or can you see
Oh,
light?
I can see color. I can see everything in terms of its physical material existence. And I wouldn't, like, I guess for the text situation, I guess sometimes text is, if I can't see the text, then I guess it's blurry. I lean towards saying like I just can't see it. I either can see it or I can't see it. Like the blurriness doesn't necessarily resonate so much with me. Um, like I have piles of books and that are small print that I don't read. I should just get rid of, but because they're small print. But audiobooks are like essential. But so I either can see the titles if I'm really close and, hold them close to my face, like maybe 6 inches or something like that, or I can't see them. So I don't necessarily think that things are blurry, but I guess sometimes if it's like, handwritten something, then maybe it could be blurry. But I do feel comfortable enough to ride a bicycle in San Francisco still.
Oh, wow.
And that for me, I think is, I've been riding a bicycle since I was a kid, like for transportation. And so
Sure.
one, I feel, I kind of feel vulnerable sharing that, in the podcast, but, as somebody that is, legally blind,
Actually,
but
I think that's totally amazing. I mean, that takes courage anywhere, even with sight, to ride a bike. So I'm amazed. I commend you for it. Is it freeing? Do you have like a little freeing feeling when you're on your bicycle?
yes, definitely. Because I can do it, and I can see the clear path ahead of me, and I can see like I used to think it was weird to think that, if there's a plastic bag, or those people that can see like plastic bags, I used to think like, oh, like I wanted to figure out what that was, that moving thing in the future. But like now I just accept, don't go towards the moving thing. Like it doesn't
Right.
matter It doesn't matter what the moving thing is. It could be a dog, it could be a squirrel, it could be a plastic bag on the street. The goal is to just not go near it.
Or else you might be walking into the light, right?
Exactly. Walk into the light, don't walk into the dark.
That's right. Well, tell us, oftentimes people who are blind have many other issues that they're dealing with, and a lot of the issues could perhaps be helped with a better diet. Tell us some of your dietary tips.
Sure, absolutely. So my method of madness about eating healthy, putting together my cooking skills as well as my nutrition knowledge from as because I'm a dietitian. I think it's essential in this day and age because we have access to food 24/7, which increases our perception that it's like it's easier to just order food than to make it at home. Because we have long days and we have lots of wishes and dreams to accomplish, and it can feel like any one task is hard. And so my YouTube channel is called Quick and Delish by Alicia Connor, and I think of my recipes and the method of like my cooking strategies are like super simple and like tasty, hence Quick and Delish. And so you asked me to share my favorite recipe, and I don't have favorites per se because I want to be that that person that's weird and doesn't have favorites. But but one of the recipes that I really like, or a meal actually that I really think is like super simple and like ridiculously delicious, is chicken salsa verde, which is a pound of boneless, skinless chicken, and you cook it however you want, or you could just get chicken, a rotisserie chicken and take off the meat, however you source your chicken, doesn't matter. So cooked chicken, about a pound, with 2 cans of black beans, and you rinse them, and then 1 fresh red bell pepper or whatever sweet bell pepper you like, or you could substitute that with any vegetables, or you could substitute that with a jar of roasted red bell pepper, chop that up, and then a jar of salsa verde, and then you just cook that. And so that alone could be a meal. But if you want to add something to that, I like to add this Mexican-inspired slaw, which is red cabbage, shredded carrot, whether or not you buy pre-shredded carrot or you shred your own carrot, that's up to you. Maybe some scallion if you have it, but that's not necessary. Maybe some cilantro if you have it. You can add some more red bell pepper or whatever crunchy vegetables you have, and then finish it off with like a apple cider vinegar dressing with olive oil, salt, pepper. If you have cumin around, you could throw in some ground cumin and call it an awesome meal that gets multiple servings for the future.
Wow, that sounds so amazing, and it's light and it's easy, and it sounds like it's really good for you too, and tasty.
Exactly. And so like you have a bunch of colors in that meal too, and like eating a variety of colors, like eating the rainbow brings a variety of phytonutrients and antioxidants that really help us like with each bite impacts our health. And so I encourage people to think about how you could eat the rainbow, and you could even have a challenge within your family to try to eat a rainbow within a day of fruits and vegetables. So what that could mean is like the color white. And so even if you don't see color, just knowing that these vegetables and fruits have different colors is kind of cool. And so white could be like daikon radish or onion or white button mushrooms. Yellow is like summer squash, winter squash, or yellow bell pepper, or maybe peaches. And then, red could be like strawberry, raspberries, bell peppers. Sounds like I like bell peppers a lot. Um, and then there's the purple and the blue colors. So that could be like purple potatoes, blueberries, red cabbage is purple. And then there's the brown pigment, which is, mushrooms again, or lentils. And then black could be like Spanish radish or black lentils. or mushrooms. And so then there's the green as well, which, that's where we get our greens, like our spinach or collards or kale, and with chard.
Oh gosh, that sounds really beautiful. And like you say, if you don't see color, or if you do see color, it's even better. But I that just sounds wonderful. And it's a really wonderful way to think of it too, because oftentimes we go to the store and we pick up the same old stuff, and to think of it in terms of a rainbow is really a wonderful idea. Um, I was wondering, have you ever had to change anybody's diet for them? Maybe they were eating like lots of gravy and potatoes, and you had to move them over into the vegetable aisle, shall we say. How do you go about having someone change their diet around?
Oh, that's a good question. So, I mean, I don't force anybody to do anything. It's kind of like instead of having the horse walk to the water, it's better to teach a man to fish or teach a person to fish, right?
Right, right.
And that's my goal with Quick and Delish, and my mission, to help people simplify their life with meal planning. And so I make recommendations. So say somebody comes to me and they, I do nutrition counseling, with both individually and in groups. And so I make suggestions in how to modify, like add in say the meat and potatoes kind of person, that doesn't like vegetables. And so if they're seeing me and they're near, they're coming to sessions, then maybe they're interested. And for the most part, folks who have scheduled sessions with me, like they're ready to make change. And that's not necessarily the case in, in the hospital setting. In order to make change, we have to be on board. And in order to be on board with making change, we need to understand why it's important. Why is our health important? What kind of quality of life do we want to live? And what does that look like in the future? In our culture, we're not necessarily trained to think what kind of person do we want to be in the future? And what does our future self look like beyond, we're supposed to save money and whatever, I don't know, and live the dream. But how do we live whatever dream? How do we live that dream? And so basically in life, the only two things we really truly have is our health and then our time frame from when we're born and then the end of our life, right? And I'm not trying to get serious or anything, but
Oh, that's okay.
part of part of it is how can we stay on our health journey more often? And so I'll make simple recommendations of like whoever I'm counseling, my clients, what do you like and what do you don't like? They'll be like, oh, I absolutely don't like, Brussels sprouts. And some people love Brussels sprouts. Everybody's totally different. And that's why it's so awesome to do one-on-one sessions, because everybody's so significantly different. And I did want to give a shout out for a lot of people think that they want a meal plan. They want to come to a dietitian and be like, hey, just give me a meal plan and I'll follow it. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this. And it's actually, it doesn't work out. It's not really, from my experience and my observations, it's not what people want. What people really what's necessary is for each person to create their own individualized meal planning system that they're on board with. Because in order to make change, you have to be on board. And so if I were like, oh, sardines are a great protein source, and they don't like that, then forget it. My recommendation's garbage. And so I literally need to listen to, the likes and the dislikes, and then make small recommendations. I go through, hydration, how's the water drinking happening, and go over strategies for increasing water. And how can I, add some more vegetables without it being such a big deal.
Right, right. You almost have to take the diet as it is, and then maybe just slip a few things here and there. Is that how you work it?
Exactly, just a little bit at a time. And I mean, there's lots of different strategies. I mean, sometimes like I had a brainstorming session with a client a couple of weeks ago where she was like, I just need you to tell me like a criteria of what, like how many calories and then like calories per meal. And so I was like, okay, so you want us to brainstorm ideas for snacks, and that's exactly what she wanted. And so I came up with like, the list of, proteins going with this and then the portions, because she was trying to lose weight. And so she needed that specific information so that she felt satiated to, between meals. So she wasn't over snacking.
What are some snack suggestions you have?
I just drafted out some snacks this morning, so I'm ready for this.
It wasn't a gotcha question. I didn't mean to do that.
It was a test question. I'm ready. So
that's right. Catch the fly ball.
Exactly. Oh, and I'm a content writer for the Blind Bold Beauty blog, and so the next article I think is coming out the third week of March, and so keep an ear out for that or check that out.
Yes, and I heard you on the podcast.
Snacks.
What was that?
Oh, the article for March is about snacks.
Okay, great. And the podcast, which goes along with it, the Blind Bold Beautiful, right? Podcast.
Blind Bold Beauty podcast, yeah. And they're on the air, AIR, yeah. So I have an episode with them as well. So a couple snacks. You could make a Greek yogurt dip with cumin and lemon juice or lime juice, and then, dip crunchy vegetables in there, like whatever crunchy vegetables you like, snap peas or, carrots or celery, or again with the red bell pepper or whatever, sweet bell peppers. Jicama is a great vegetable to crunch on. So like a lot of people go for like chips because they're crunchy, but like how can you get the crunch in a healthy way that gives you nutrition?
Right.
And then what about the old-fashioned or famous snack, ants on a log?
Oh yeah, those are so cute. Little raisins and the peanut butter and the celery.
Exactly. So instead of celery, not everybody likes celery, and that's understandable because not everybody likes everything. But celery can be very refreshing, and I've gone through phases of my life where I took a break from celery because it was too bitter. And so like the last couple of weeks, I realized that it's possible that some people, the first time you try something, you might not like it. It's not because you don't like peas, or it might not be because you don't like celery. It might be because you don't like how bitter that celery is, or you don't like what you're having with the celery, or like frozen peas are a perfect example, I think. So each brand could be different. So I love frozen peas. Like frozen peas with scrambled eggs
they're my
simple,
favorite.
easy. Totally. Yeah. So you could use that as a piece of toast or whatever. And so we have a grocery store here called Safeway, and I tried frozen peas there, not to say anything bad about their peas or anything. Whatever brand I was trying, you have to just try different brands and see which ones you like. But that brand, that particular bag, they were very starchy and they weren't very sweet. And they were very fibrous. And so like any one package could be or brand could be the reason why you don't like it. So I encourage everyone to try until you're like, okay, I've tried it 3 times or 4 times. I'm like, I'm good. Like,
well, also, I think, what we forget sometimes is the texture of things. I'm weird that way. I don't like scrambled eggs, but I like an omelet, which honestly, they're basically the same thing. So I think I find texture is very important too in
absolutely.
Our eating.
Absolutely. And it's good, like I'm not, encouraging people to just, try things that they don't like, but like it's good to be open-minded and have variety of foods. And I'm glad that you understand that an omelet and scrambled eggs is basically the same thing, but texturally it is different.
Yes, yes, it definitely. Well, you know what? I always ask people on the show, what what is like one of your favorite stories, or a funny story that happened, something that happened because you were blind, and it either made you go, "Oh my God, I can't believe someone said that," or it made you laugh after a while, or maybe a combination of the two.
Um, let's see. So one quick thing is, this was years ago, maybe, I don't know, 13 or 14 years ago or something like that. But when I was walking around, I was going to City College, taking classes there for my undergraduate degree. And I was, like when you're in a new place, you want to be like friendly and I don't know, make sure to like I don't want to be the person that is the one that um looks grumpy or whatever to other people. And so I used to say hi people when I was like 85% sure it was whoever I thought it was. And so I've said hi to many times to people that it wasn't really them. And
Oh
and
no.
so after that, like after too many, I think it was around when I was at City College, I was just like, I'm just gonna not say hi to people because it's just like a yucky feeling to be wrong.
Oh, yeah, it starts the whole awkward. It's a very awkward moment.
Yeah, I mean, like, I might not ever see this person again, but it's just they have no idea that it was like I just don't see well, and that's why I thought you were this other person. And I'm sure people with sighted people do that in a different
Oh,
kind of way or
please.
sometimes.
No,
'Cause
no, I've done it. I've done it all the time. I've done it. You just someone looks familiar, or they look like the person who you think, and then the more you think about that person, the more that person looks like the person you think it is. It's like a psychological thing after a while, but yeah, that would be funny. What's Has anyone ever, like, what did they do when you walked up to them and you thought it was like so and so, but it really wasn't?
yeah, it's always like they look at you like I don't know who you are, and you're like, hey, like excited or whatever, smiling like, hey, I know you, and they're like, I don't know you.
I've
I don't.
never met you before in my life.
Uh, uh. It's just like a yucky feeling to get, and you're like all in a good mood. You think you got it, and I was like, I need to be like 100% sure. And I'm like, with this vision loss experience, I can't like it's impossible to be 100% sure about who somebody is. And so I was
Right.
just like, I'm just not somebody that says hi to people out and about. And because there's like calculations and like, okay, so it's Tuesday at this time, this person could be at this place, and so you increase the confidence of knowing if this person is that person because of data, but not because
Right.
you're visually actually like confident that it's them. And so it's just too much work. And so I decided that it wasn't a fun game to say hi to strangers.
Well, have you developed a way of slinking away nonchalantly?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I'm sure I do similar things all the time. Like I'm staring at something, trying to figure out what it was, and I'm like, oh, I'm wrong. And so I'm sure we make interesting facial expressions out there in the world.
Well, let tell our listeners how they can reach out to you, and the things of yours, the products and the projects of yours that they can watch.
Absolutely. So definitely check out YouTube, Quick and Delish by Alicia Connor. So it's Quick ampersand DELISH by Alicia Connor. And then you could also, I'm going to share with Renee a survey, which is for the blind and visually impaired community. And I would love for anybody to fill this out. I want to collect the information. The information I'm collecting is on your interest, knowledge, and about nutrition, cooking, and meal planning. And I've created, and so what I'm going to do with this information that I gather from the folks within the blind and visually impaired community is create a resource, like a platform with cooking tutorials and nutrition information that is accessible to low vision and blind folks. And so I want to do the work to make, staying on the health journey easier, and staying on the journey more often. And then, if you want to email me because you have any questions for whatever reason, my email is Alicia, ALICIA, at aliciaconnor.com. And I guess last project to mention is I've created a virtual meal planning series during this pandemic of ours, and it's a helpful resource to organize your recipes and your kitchen inventory and get the nutrition information you need to make balanced meals and snacks easier over time. And so it's basically the concept is creating your meal planning system in a simplified way, and I'm working on making that program accessible to the blind and visually impaired as well. So I'd love it if anybody was interested, contact me and, register for the program, the virtual meal planning series. And, I'd love to host group events with the series as well.
That sounds wonderful. You actually have a full plate, shall we say.
Yes, I like the overfilling plate. I actually prefer a bowl plate, because they're easier to eat out of.
Right, and it's easier. Well, then you have many bowls that you filled with.
That are overfilling,
That's
overfull.
right. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Alicia. We've really enjoyed it, and it's been very informative. I enjoyed it as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. You're a great host.
Oh, that's so great. And your payment is in the mail. No, I'm just joking around. Well, thank you again. This has been Alicia Connor, and this has been the Cooking Without Looking TV show with Renee Rentmeester. If you want to reach out to us, our website is www.cookingwithoutlookingtv.wordpress.com. You can reach me at my phone number, the old-fashioned way, 305-200-9104. And as we like to say, we're changing the way we see blindness. Thank you again. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.